What was your experience in Bern then? Like you had a pretty good time in Bern, right?
Bern was great. Bern is one of my favorite places in Europe. Straight up, I had an awesome time.
Tell us. What's so cool about it?
You want to know the whole story?
Sure, yeah.
Well, where to begin? I started out. I met a girl I stayed with on couch surfing, Laura. I stayed with her whole family, which is like usually couch surfing. Most couch surfing for the people that haven't done it, it's amazing, but it's usually like people that have their own place or like with roommates,
Roommates, yeah.
which is like I guess most typical. But this was the first one, and maybe the only one. She was at university and she lived with her parents and brother. So when I went, it's a beautiful house, and I love the house because it was like the whole thing is covered in flowers, and the backyard is amazing. It was like they're clearly gardeners, like that's their hobby, I guess, because their whole house was beautiful and like blooming. And I stayed I stayed there for one night. She was like upfront about it, like, yeah, I'd be happy to host you, but you can only stay for one night. I forget the reason, but like, I'm like, all right, that's cool. So I stayed, and she had bicycles. She let me borrow her brother's bike, and she took hers. So, and I love cycling, like I said. So I I always love it when I can get on a bike, especially when I haven't been in a while. Like I didn't have a bike in Turkey, like, so I never. It'd been a while since I'd ridden, but anyway, she took me to her university, her lab, where she was doing research on flies. I think it was like migratory patterns or something. I'm trying to remember what the fly she was studying, but we had to go to the lab and like feed the flies. So I got to go feed like these. They're like in test tubes, or like not test tubes, but bigger vials. So it was like participating in her research, just like that was kind of cool seeing what she was working on and hearing her explanation. I wish I remembered more of it.
Yeah,
Then she, what's that?
you meet so many people who are doing so many different
Oh,
and unique things, right? That you
yeah,
wouldn't even think of
yeah. I've never studied flies before,
in
but
in their
it was
everyday life.
yeah, that was really cool. Um, and just biking around the town with her, we like went all over the place. She took me to this really cool um, like graffiti place. There's like this one area. I don't know if there was like a bar or something there. I can't remember, but it was like the outdoor part that I remember because it's like under a bridge and there's just graffiti everywhere. It's like super dense graffiti zone, and it's really cool. So we went there, and then we went to like these other cool spots in the town, which I don't need to get into because you just got to go to Bern. Um, but anyway, then it was like
I would
I
go back there. I would go. That's one of the places I would go back to 100%.
definitely, definitely. And then we went home, and I had like family dinner with them, which is great because
You
like
get
when was the last
you
time I
get
had
all the
family?
sorry, you get all the culture like family dinner. You're getting like a different generation, and you're like getting the family thing, and like the family
Yeah,
couch surfing definitely are
yeah.
is very
Although
cool.
I will say, Swiss culture, like honestly, it didn't seem all that different from like American. Like I wasn't. It's not like Turkey or India or
Right,
Mexico or
right,
something.
right.
It seemed pretty standard. They made like a it was like a ham salad. Like I'm not. They had like a macaroni salad. It was. They had this big bowl, and I was like kind of embarrassed because I was eating a bunch of it. I was so hungry, but it was so good. Everything they made was like really good, and it was nice having like a family dinner, even though it wasn't my family.
Yeah.
It was kind of bizarre. But then after that, I went to. So she could only host me for one night. So the next day, I found someone who could I because initially I was only planning on staying one night, so it was fine. But then I loved Bern so much, I'm like, oh, I got to stay another night or two. So I hit up couch surfing again, and I found this girl Vanessa who said like, yeah, I'm not really around, but I mean I kind of said in my messages to the host like, hey, hate to be a burden, like I'm trying to stay in Bern because it's such a great place. I know this is really last second, but I'm looking for a place tonight and or tomorrow, and I haven't had any luck. And Vanessa was like super helpful. And she said, "Yeah, I'm not really around much today, but like you can stay if you really need a place." Like kind of hesitant, but then when we met, it was like she was so hospitable and helpful, and she had this bike also. I like anyone that has a bike, really. This bike was like her pride and joy. It was I think she called it the Silver Surfer. It was like all silver. She had, I think, built it herself, and she like cleans it, and she loves this bike. And she goes, we're hanging out, and her house is in the best place ever because Bern is like a tiny town in the big oxbow like bend in the river, and her house was like right in. You could see the river from her house. It was right inside. So the first day we went. She took me on one of the coolest experiences I had in Europe, which is we went to this park where like the grass is so green, it's like paradise in the mountains, kind of, and it's just this huge feels like a country club to us. It looks like a place that you'd have to pay like a ridiculous monthly membership to even step foot in, but it's free. It's like this open, free park. So we go there, and she's like, "Oh, we got to go swimming in the river, like, because that's the thing to do
in Bern.
In Bern." So we like stripped down to our suits. We had brought it was me, her, and one of her friends who was also really cool. And so we like get into our bathing suits, and I have like my phone, and I didn't bring my wallet because I usually like I knew we were going swimming, so I didn't bring my wallet, but I have my phone, and I'm like, and there's lockers all around the park, like not far. I'm like, oh, can I like go put this stuff in my locker? And she's like, no, we're in Switzerland. People don't steal things. And I'm like, people steal things everywhere.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, we're in Bern. Like, no one's going to steal anything. Because she left her wallet and her phone sitting on top of her shoes in the middle of the park and just started walking up the river. And I'm like, all right. But I'm extra protective because, like, all the photos I have from my trip in my phone, and like,
Yeah.
I don't want to lose any of that. So I'm like,
I put my phone in my sock. Like I was in the same
yeah,
situation. I was like,
I put
should we
mine
get?
in the shoe.
I was like, should I get a locker?
But like, still, anyone could have. And so we hiked like maybe a mile up the river or a couple kilometers, whatever. We went up the river, and there was a bridge, and she's like, okay. She had pretty much conditioned me for it the whole time. She's like, just so you know, the river is really cold. If you want, you can go. There's like these shower heads on the trail that just like shoot cold water out. She's like, I find it helps to go in under the shower to get used to it before you jump in. And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna jump in. The shower's the worst.
It was super hot, wasn't it? Like when I was there, I couldn't wait to get in the water, but the water was freezing. Yeah.
It wasn't actually that hot when we were there. It was kind of later in the day too, so it kind of cooled off a little. But I wasn't like dying to get in the water. It was like not cold, but it wasn't warm. But so they just climbed in the river, and the river is amazing because it's bright blue. It's like a beautiful color. It's almost like it looks like the blue on your shirt. Honestly.
Yeah, like turquoise, like this one.
Yeah, it's like a turquoise blue that's super bright. And the other cool thing about it's the Aare. I could be saying it wrong, but it's Aare river, and it moves so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, there was like a lot of like snow melt from the mountains, but the river rips. So basically you just jump in. I jumped from the bridge. I did like a backflip off the bridge, and you land in the water, and you're immediately like flying down the river. It's no lazy mile. So you jump in, and you just float, and the river just rips you down back towards the park. And she had impressed upon me how important it is to like get to the side where the park is because there's turbines down the river. And she's like, yeah, usually like 5 to 10 people die every summer because they don't get out in time. And if you don't get out in time, you just get sucked into the turbine and die. And I'm like, oh my God. So I better get to the side of the river in time. Well, there's a few different places to grab onto, but at the part where the park is, there's like these steps that go down into the river with a railing. She's like, yeah, just swim to the side of the river and just grab the railing and you'll be good. But it moves so fast, you really got to hold on because
Yeah.
even if you hit the railing, it's not a guarantee that you can grab. So that was a blast. And even when you're floating down the river, you're just looking up at the town, and it's beautiful because it's like lit with the afternoon sun. It's like golden hour. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life, and I got out in time. I'm still here. But yeah, she was an MVP couch surfing host.
But you made a really good point that like even though they have these bars that you can grab onto, like sometimes you'll slip and you'll miss it, and like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'll get the next one, and like,
I
but
mean, I think there were like 3 stairs,
yeah,
3 chances to get out at the park.
you
So
definitely.
if you miss the first one, like you could still do it.
Yeah, it said, doesn't it say, weren't there numbers? It was like
I don't know.
this is the last chance. Like,
I'm thankful I didn't see the last chance sign.
yeah,
I got out on the first
that one's way too risky to go for.
one. Ooh.
But sorry, so go ahead, continue your story.
So with Vanessa, there's kind of 2 parts. The Twin Towers is later.
Yeah, we'll go into that later.
Yeah. The One of the coolest things that happened on couch surfing, I didn't even take her up on it, but we're hanging out in her house. This is like at night. She had already blown up an air mattress for me. It was like things were good. We were set. We had eaten. We had delicious ice cream next to the park. It's like perfect. But even though it was a little cold for ice cream, it was still delicious. She gets a phone call from one of her friends, and she's like jabbering away on the phone, like real excited. She asked me. She's like, Colin, my friend just called. I think she'd already hung up. She's like, my friend just called. We're gonna go to this art installation in Italy tomorrow, like day trip. Do you want to come? And I'm just like, I actually ended up not doing it because that's how much I loved Berne, and I was like, I really want to. This is like maybe the most colonial invitation I've ever heard, but I want to see Berne. I want to I stayed an extra day or two just to see this town. And I know if I go on this trip with you, I'll be way behind on my like general travels. So I ended up turning her down, but I just thought it was so cool that she just randomly got a phone call from someone saying, "You want to drive to Italy in the morning and see this art installation?" Which was this artist had created massive orange walkways out over a lake, with floating walkways that you can walk on. And it looked amazing. I looked it up and whatever. I really wanted to go, but that was cool. And then the other cool thing, I was like, "Oh, so you're gone for the day tomorrow? What time are you waking up? Because I can leave with you. I can be out of the house whenever you leave." And she just goes, "Oh, don't worry about it." And she tosses me the keys. And she goes, "No, you can stay. I'll be back at night. Just make sure you lock the house if you leave."
Nobody steals stuff in Berne.
Nobody steals anything in Berne. She gave me. I had known her at this point for maybe 9 hours, and she tosses me the keys to her house. and says, "I'll be back. I'll be back. Like I'm gonna be gone the whole day. Here are the keys to my house." And not only that, even more special, she was like, later on, she was like, also, if you really want to ride the bicycle, you can. Just be careful and take care of her. And I'm like, okay, that's happening. So that night, or I guess the next night, I went for a bike ride around Berne, which is unbelievable because their bike is so cool. Later,
You have a picture of the bike, right?
I don't know. I don't think I have a picture of the bike. I regret not taking a picture of the bike.
You'll have to message her and get her to send you a picture.
I'm gonna have to message her, ask for a picture. Hey, we haven't talked in 2 years, but can you take a picture of your bicycle and send it to me? Which is funny because a girl that I met in Rome, like Ella, I actually had her send me a photo of her bike recently. She's a beautiful bike, I'll tell you what. It's like minty green. Oh, that's another story. It's not a story, it's a beautiful bike. Regardless, Twin Towers. This was after she had come back from Italy. I think I was staying a second night, and we were just hanging out in the house, and this girl was awesome. Like, can't ask for a better host. And I'm just standing in the hallway, like looking at the art she has on the walls. Well, she was in the kitchen. We were like, it's not a big place, so we were just having a conversation. But I was in the hallway outside of the room, just looking at, what she had up. And then there were like some postcard kind of things. And I look at, and I see she just has a picture like this big hanging on her wall of a picture of the plane flying into the World Trade Center, like on September 11th. And I saw it, and I was like, immediately disoriented. And I didn't know, I'm like, up until this point, I thought the world of this person. And then I saw it, and I'm like, who am I staying with? Is she evil? Is she a terrorist? Like, I just thought all these, like, because
bizarre thoughts, yeah.
Bizarre thoughts. And I'm like, the real root of it is, why is this hanging on the wall? And I guess, like, I don't know anyone personally that died in that attack, but, like, I know friends. I had a friend whose dad died when that happened, and it's like, just as an American, even when it happened, I was not even as affected as when I saw that postcard in Switzerland on the wall. Because I guess it's overstatement to say I lost it, but I was like severely affected by seeing this picture. And I'm like shaking thinking about it. But I just had no trust in this girl. Immediately, I'm like, who is this? And why did she deem it appropriate to like hang the picture of like the worst terrorist attack in our history like on her wall? And I was shook. I was like, I gotta get out of here. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I'll just leave tonight. No, I didn't know what I was gonna do. But like I knew she wasn't like trying to harm me or anything, but I seriously questioned like who she was as a person. And then I just stood there in the hallway and stared at it for like a few minutes straight. And then she popped out of the kitchen. She's like, "Are you okay?" Because I'd just like stopped talking. The conversation ended, and I just look at her and I point at it, and I'm like, "Why do you have this on your wall?" And I'm like, I didn't know how to react, and I was shocked that I was like so affected by it, because I've never lived in New York. Like I don't know the victims personally, but just the fact that she thought it was like cool to hang on the wall, and then she was like, "Oh, that's like a promotional flyer. It was a flyer for like a play. She does like set design stuff and she's involved in theater. And she was like, "Yeah, we had a play." And this was like the flyer that we advertised the play for. And I was like, "Oh, you did a play about September 11th, like the World Trade Center attack?" Because that sounded interesting. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "No, it didn't have anything to do with the World Trade Center or the attack." And I'm like, "Why are you using the picture of this plane that killed like thousands of people as like a brochure to get people to come to your theater?" It didn't make any sense to me, and I was thrown off. And the whole rest of the time I stayed there, I was like ready to leave, to be honest. And in retrospect, like I guess she just had no sense of how it would affect, and I'm like someone from America seeing it, and she was cool about it. She was like, if it's like if it's troubling you, I can just turn it over, or we can take it down, which was like kind of her to say. And I was like, I said no, like I don't want to like change your house or whatever. I wish I had just been like, yeah, can we take it down? I was being too polite because I was like, no, you can leave it up. But as soon as I said that, I'm like, oh, I wish I had just taken it down because it's making me uncomfortable, which is like kind of bizarre, but it is what it is. But I had never been like that affected by anything other than I was just confused as to why it was like, why a picture of that was hanging in someone's house. So that was like, I don't know. That was not a pleasant experience. And I was just shocked. I was all like looking, even when it was happening, I was just shocked that it like affected me because
Yes.
even
Oh,
when it actually happened, I remember where I was when it happened and it didn't even affect me that much. I mean, I was in, I think, sixth grade. I was
right.
probably 15, six, or no, I was like 9.
Probably like, yeah, 10 or 9. Yeah.
How old was I? I was 11. It was 2001. I was 11. And like, I guess I knew what was happening, but I didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. So like, it was crazy because just seeing that postcard of the picture of the attack was like more traumatizing for me than the day of the attack. And I can't really explain it, but I don't know. That's the last thing I remember from staying in Berne. I, I mean, she was nice the whole time, but I just like woke up and said goodbye and I was out of there.
I'm gonna have to make
Berne
sure.
her. It was just a weird thing that I went through, just like seeing that picture.
Yeah, it's definitely a bizarre occurrence.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I remember you told me that story, and I was just it's funny but weird, and just can't hard to understand what it was all about, and why it was so troubling for you. Yeah, it was
Yeah, I
interesting.
don't know. I still can't even see it as funny. I get that you or like someone else listening to it would find it funny, but I'm still like
Yeah, I guess it's not funny, but just the way you tell it.
just
Yeah.
I don't know. I was not amused. I was disturbed.